Mrs. Behrens, we have a big job today. Today, for your social studies writing lesson, you are going to be looking at the introduction that you wrote for your monologue yesterday about your historical figure, and we are going to make a perspective change. Today, we'll be looking at the writing that we did in third person and actually changing it into a first person perspective. Now, before we do that, let's talk about what perspective is. This video is going to demonstrate or kind of teach us the differences between what third person is and sounds like versus first person in writing and storytelling. Let's watch.
Who is telling a story, and from what perspective are some of the most important choices an author makes? Told from a different point of view, a story can transform completely. Take this fairy tale. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, the prince called. Let down your hair. Rapunzel unbraided her hair and slung it out the window. The prince climbed her tresses into the tower. Rapunzel is typically told like this, with the narrator outside the story. This point of view is called third person. But Rapunzel can also be told by a character in the story, a first-person narrator. The tail end of Rapunzel's locks plopped down at my feet. I grabbed on and began to climb. Ugh, I couldn't untangle myself. Strands came off all over me, sticking to my sweat. In a first-person narrative, the story can change dramatically, depending on which character is the narrator. Say Rapunzel was narrating instead of the prince. I hope he appreciates how long it takes to unbraid 25 feet of hair, I thought. I'll be honest, I thought my scalp would stretch off my skull.
So you can see how the story sounds different. It changes a little bit. We started with the narrator being this random little dude, right? He's someone totally outside the story. He's just sitting, watching the story and telling it as it happens. And all of a sudden, it switches to the narrator being one of the characters that's actually participating, that the story is happening to. That is the shift that we are going to make today. You will be going from, oh, hang on, my other thing disappeared. Here it is. It ran away. You will be shifting your writing to go from third person to first person. When we initially wrote our introduction, we wrote it in third person. That means that it was your own voice talking about your historical figure. We used words like he, she, they, them, her, his. We're going to make a shift to write our introduction in first person. This means that instead of your voice talking, you are going to pretend to be your historical figure and tell their own story from the perspective of that person. You will use words like I, me, my. Now let's work through my example introduction. I will show you how we can go through and make changes to shift this perspective from third person to first person. My example, I am doing my project on Andrew Jackson. I wrote this introduction draft here on the bottom, and I wrote it in third person. It sounds like this. Did you know that Andrew Jackson adopted 2 children and raised them as his own? Today, I will tell you all about one of America's first presidents, Andrew Jackson. We will learn about his early life, family, accomplishments, and some interesting facts. Okay, so there's my draft. We have a separate slide that we're going to work on today to write our final draft and shift our perspective. So what I'm going to do is I am going to copy everything that I wrote yesterday. I'm going to paste it on my final draft slide. I'm going to move this back up here. And now it's time to shift to the perspective. So first, let's look at my attention getter. Did you know that Andrew Jackson adopted 2 children and raised them as his own? That is my voice. This is Barron's voice talking about Andrew Jackson. I need to find a way to say that the way it would sound if Andrew Jackson said it about himself. So I'm thinking, how can I pretend to be Andrew Jackson and deliver this same information from his perspective? Well, here's a change I could make. I could say, did you know that I adopted 2 children and raised them as my own? That shifts that information from being written in third person to first person. Now Andrew Jackson is talking about himself. Let's go on to the explanation, that next part. Today I will tell you all about one of America's first presidents, Andrew Jackson. All right, how am I going to shift the perspective in that sentence? It could go like this. Today, you will learn all about me, Andrew Jackson. I was one of America's first presidents. Now it's written in first person. Andrew Jackson is talking about himself. And finally, let's look at our transition sentence. We will learn about his early life, family, accomplishments, and some interesting facts. Once again, I need to shift that from third person to first person. So I might do something like this. Well, actually, I could leave that. We will learn about my early life, family, accomplishments, and some interesting facts about me. Okay, now let's do a final read through of this introduction to make sure that everything is now in first person. Did you know that I adopted 2 children and raised them as my own? Today you will learn all about me, Andrew Jackson. I was one of America's first presidents. We will learn about my early life, family, accomplishments, and some interesting facts about me. Now this introduction is written in first person. It's Andrew Jackson talking about himself. So this is your job. Today your job is to look at the introduction that you wrote yesterday. Notice it is very likely written in third person. And your job is to make changes to switch it from third person into first person. When you are done making those edits, read your whole introduction through and make sure it sounds like your historical figure is the one who's talking. Once you have those changes made, be sure that it is pasted in the box on this slide that says Day 5, May 19th, and submit a screenshot to Schoology.